Everyone, and welcome to Grandstand Sports Data. In today's video, we're giving you the round two betting preview between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. We'll be going over this matchup statistically, fundamentally, and then breaking it down in the betting world as well. So let's get right into it. Okay, so let's break this matchup down statistically. Here you're going to see Boston's the more complete team. Don't think I'm really giving you groundbreaking information with that, but third in both power rating and SRS. They played tough opponents and dominated. Knicks, they're solid, but there's a gap, right? Offensively, the Knicks are top five in offensive rating and strong on the offensive glass, but Boston's cleaner across the board. They're better efficiency, fewer turnovers, nearly as good on the boards. They don't give teams those extra chances. Defensively, Boston's elite. Top five in defensive rating, number two in efficient field goal percentage allowed, and then they're best in the league at not sending teams to the line. That's going to matter late in games. The Knicks, they are average defensively. They'll struggle to get stops without fouling. So the turnover differential favors Boston, and they have a higher net rating. The Knicks rely more on physicality in getting to the line. Boston usually neutralizes that. The big picture that you're looking at here is that the Knicks need a very specific game script to cover. The high variance, extra possessions, maybe some second chance points. Otherwise, Boston's efficiency edge holds up over time. Now, moving on to the fundamentals. Boston has a massive talent advantage here. We're talking about 62 total win shares versus 18.9 for the Knicks. That's a blowout. There's no way else to say that. Boston's win share per 48 now is also much higher, meaning even on a per minute basis, they're just more efficient across the board. Look at the top end talent. You got Tatum, Brown, Holiday, White, all guys who can carry stretches. Horford and Porzingis add big game IQ and spacing. So even the bench has contributors. On the Knicks side, it's Brunson doing most of the heavy lifting. So Bridges and Hart help, but there's a big drop off after that. The Knicks almost have no depth. So McBride and Payne give you next to nothing. Boston can go almost 8 deep. That's what the difference. There's a huge difference in this. Even the pace is going to suit Boston, even though it says that they rank higher for the Knicks. Right, the slower tempo, the grinded out type of game that favors the deeper, more disciplined team. And Boston's at home, so there's a real edge in this matchup. In a series, Boston's going to wear them down. In a single game, the Knicks have to hope Brunson goes off and Boston gets cold. That's not a high probability formula to win the series. Okay, so now let's take a look at some of the factors that have been profitable over the last 5 years in the playoffs. And this one's pretty cut and dry, right? Boston owns three of the four most profitable playoff factors over the last 5 years, and they're not just holding edges, they're aligned with high unit edges. Offensive rating edge has cashed at about $3.97 historically for $1 bet. Turnover percentage is the second biggest moneymaker at $8.83 per $1 bet. Then you got free throw rate is another Boston edge. And that's been profitable over the years at $3.81 for every $1 bet. So the only angle where the Knicks show up is turnover margin, so which historically has been the most profitable factor. That gives them a pulse, but they're still behind 3-1 on factors, and that has driven playoff success. It's just the summary that I would give you guys is that this isn't just a stat win for Boston; it's a trend aligned edge. So when the profitable playoff patterns all favor one team, you have to start paying attention, even if the largest one does factor the other team. As we've been talking through the statistics, the fundamentals, they've all been coming up Boston, and this slide is basically no different. All right, so let's break down the spread betting trends in this. Starting on the left with the Knicks, you can see this team started off rough against the number. Sharp drop early in the season with a deep hole around games 65 through 70, but in the last 10 to about 12 games, you can see some life here. They've been clawing their way back with a few covers, tightening things up. They still finished flat at about 44 and 44 against the spread, down 4.5% in terms of your return on investment. But the trend heading into the playoffs is at least neutral, if not slightly positive. Right? They're kind of ticking up towards that season average red line. Boston, on the other hand, Boston's spread performance is a different story. Also sitting just below break even at 43 and 44, but their trend line shows more recent consistency. You can see them popping up even over their season average. They've covered in higher percentage of recent games, especially late in terms of 70s into the 80s in terms of the what number of game it was. So while the full season against the spread record looks pedestrian, Recent form is sharper than New York's. So, the summary that I would get from this is that neither team has been a moneymaker against the spread this year. But if you're looking to back momentum, Boston again is trending slightly better into the playoffs. That said, this isn't a strong edge, but the market's been tight on both sides. That's what I would say. Now, looking at the money line side of things, you can see New York on the left. The Knicks have had a strong win-loss record at 55 and 33, but they've been terrible for money line bettors. They're down over 7 units with a minus 8.1% return. That's what happens when a team wins a lot but is often overpriced. Recent trend hasn't reversed. They're still hovering near their worst point over the last 15 to 20 games, and there's no upward movement suggesting values creeping back in. It's only been very, very moderate, but nothing huge, right? Boston on the other side, Celtics went 66 and 21, but are also down about $3.05 for every $1 bet. It's basically a similar story. They're winning plenty, but market prices have been steep. The key difference is recent form. They've stabilized. Their last 15 games show flat or slight uptick, meaning the bleeding has stopped and the line might finally be settling, those fair market value. So the market's catching up to them. The summary I'd give you from this: both teams have been poor money line plays due to inflated prices. The Knicks offer basically zero value right now and still trending poorly. Boston's value is also questionable, but at least they've steadied, and they might be due to, it might be due to, better money line returns if books start softening their numbers in a tough series matchup. Will this be considered a tough series matchup? I don't know. So when Boston maybe plays better competition and their price starts coming back to normal, that's when it could be a more appetizing bet for the money line. Now looking at the series outlook, you can see Boston comes in as heavy favorite, priced at about minus 800 to win the series. That implies the book sees them as a close or almost a sure thing. The Knicks are sitting at plus 550. That's a long shot, but if you're hunting value, the model actually gives them a 40% chance. So that's what that equates to down here, that 40%. That's a decent edge compared to the implied odds, right? So I don't know. It's still I don't see it. They're even winning 40% of them. I don't see it. Maybe a couple wins, yeah. But spread wise, the Celtics are laying that minus 2.5 with some juice, but the model sides with the Knicks on the spread, which makes sense, right? In a tighter series than the book suggests, plus 2.5 and plus 550 on the Knicks might be worth a look. I don't know if it's going to be worth the look at the plus 550, but I would look at that covering 2.5 games at plus 120. The model still expects Celtics to win 4 games to 2, so Boston money line is the safe lean, but the pricing leaves little room for profit. If you're betting this, it's about deciding whether the Knicks can steal enough games to cover or surprise outright. So from a bettor's view, the Knicks spread and over in the series makes sense if the series gets scrappy. And that's exactly what I'm going to say here if you're talking me personally. I think that if this series does get scrappy, and I think it will be, I think the Knicks are they're a tougher team. They're not better than Boston. Boston's way better. But if the Knicks can make it that scrappy game, Boston seems to come down a notch. That doesn't mean that they're not going to win the series. They'll probably still. This 4 games to 2 looks good to me. Like even that. But I think the Knicks can push Boston, in almost every single game and make it a game. So I would like, just me, I think that the Knicks plus 2.5 at plus money, plus 120 money, not too bad to take a look at. And then the over in the series. Now, if you think it's going to be an absolute blowout, you think it's absolutely going to be like a smoke show, 4 games to nothing sweep. Look at Boston, minus 145 money to get minus 2.5 games. That's not bad. I wouldn't mind that at all. And then even if you did it on the under here, the under 5.5 games, I think that you'd remember, do your own implied probabilities and compare them to the market. If your implied probabilities are telling you that this minus 145 is not as much juice as people think it is, take it. Why not? Why not take it? So if you're on one side or the other, if you're on the Knicks to make it a tough competitive series, go spread Knicks plus 120. If you think Boston's gonna smoke their ass out of the water, go the minus 2.5 at minus 145, and then you can also link it up with one of the totals as well, depending on what side you're on. That's just my take on it. But you can see what the model thinks. They think Boston, 60% of the games are going to them, and then 40% is going to New York. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in to the NBA first round playoff preview. We hope you had a great time and picked up some awesome information. Now, don't forget to subscribe to Grandstand Sports Data for more great shows like this one. Also, don't forget to give this video a like and share it with your friends. and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win this series. That's all for now, and we'll see you guys in the next one.